This AskReddit user asks, "What's the worst punishment you ever received as a child?" So my dad found an old wooden hockey stick that was thrown away. He saw it and thought it'd make a great weapon to beat us with. He called it Mr. Sticko and he broke over my back for something I did. That one really sucked. Edit. Hey guys. Thank you so much for the well wishes and cake day shoutouts. They mean a lot. So my dad and I are actually kind of good. We obviously don't have a great relationship. But growing up in a community where my friends had it just as bad, it never seemed weird until I left. I got much needed therapy and anger management to learn how to solve my issues without violence. Thank you again. Naming the weapon used to abuse your children just seems so creepy to me. IDKY. Your dad sounds like a Mr. Pricko. Ah yes. Child abuse. Not as horrible as some of the other comments on here. But one time I told my mom to shut up when I was about 5 or so. And she slapped me on the mouth, causing one of my little baby teeth, which was wiggly, to pop out. Can't tell if I was more grateful to get the little ST out of my mouth or shocked that she slapped me. ITT. Prove how many people shouldn't be parents or near other humans really. I grew up with my grandma and I can't exactly remember what I did, but next thing I know she's laying a pile of uncooked rice in the corner to kneel on for 10 minutes. It felt like I was kneeling in a gravel driveway with shard rocks. I've heard of this one at least. I saw it in a Law and Order episode. The kids had scars all over their legs and what appeared to be grains of rice embedded in their knees. Looked pretty brutal. Did Stabler angrily skirt the edges of the law to bring the perp to justice? When I had to choose it. I had a bad progress report in middle school, so I forged my mom's signature on it. Got caught. Honestly. The writing was so shaky and my writing is terrible at the jump. Don't know how I thought that was a good shot. When the school called my parents, they said they'd talk to me when I got home. They said I had to decide what my punishment was. Obvious trap. Too hard on yourself and that sucks. Too lenient and they come down hard. That choice was worse than the actual punishment. Just predicting this thread gonna have a lot of straight up torture in it. I think you mean enhanced punishment techniques, also known as character building procedures. My uncle would have me stand T-pose and hold books. Not too bad. Then I have to stand on my toes. Then he would put nails sticking up under my heels. He would dare me to relax. Is that a punishment or an attempt by uncle at violating a Geneva Convention? Both. That's clearly sadism. It's a stupid punishment because it takes long and forces you to constantly watch to make sure they don't cheat. It only makes sense for ST because they enjoy watching it and don't want it to be over fast. My dad had a belt he kept on a nail in the kitchen. If you got in trouble, you'd get hit with a number of times. Never seemed to be the same. On your BT. That hurt. Father of 3. Never used physical discipline on any of my kids. Got put on restriction for 6 months for doing something my mom said I could do. But then she said she never gave me permission to do, even though another adult was sitting there and confirmed he heard her give me permission to do it. Also had to pick up all the rocks in the vacant lot next to our house and put them in a pile on weekends as part of the punishment. That something was rode my bicycle to the library. That's it? Bruh. My mom put me on dog restrictions when I was 8 or so years old. I wasn't allowed to pet, look at, or interact with either of our dogs for 48 hours. I was so upset. I loved my dogs so much. It hurt my feelings so much when they walked over to me and I had to ignore them. Also, getting switched was pretty awful. For those that don't know, a switch is a long thin branch from a willow tree used to spank a child. Talk about leaving some welts on your ass. Woo-wee, that ST hurt. I can still hear the whistling sound it made as the switch was slicing through the air. When I was acting up as a little kid once. My mom took all my Barney VHS tapes I had just gotten as a gift from my aunt and donated them. Looking back now though, my mom admits she was wrong to do that and has apologized. She never did anything like that ever again, and otherwise she's a great mom to me. So I accepted it. My mom once made me smell her feet for 10 minutes for backtalk. She switched to that once they banned soap in the mouth in my state. Honest question, can these sort of punishments lead to fetishes later on? 'Cause I wonder if that caused my foot fetish. They sure can. FK, this thread is dark. As a parent, this thread is making me livid. I'd better not find out any of my friends is abusing their kids. New to this. When I was in year 2. UK. So 6 or 7 years old. I was an unruly child to say the least. I was undiagnosed ADHD. My mum had enough and told me I was getting adopted. I remember distinctively telling classmates I was leaving to live somewhere else. My mum made me tidy my room and take what I wanted in a bag, and I went to my auntie's house. Mum's sister. To wait for the lady to pick me up. I don't remember falling asleep, but I must have, and woke up in my auntie's spare bedroom. She took me to school that day and my mum picked me up and I went home. As if nothing had happened. Years later. I'm in my late 30s now. I brought this up and my mum. She acts like it never happened. Her words exactly were, "You're living in a fantasy. That never happened." So yeah. That had messed with my head quite a bit. Beatings will continue until your morale improves. In all FG serious. Life got better and I never see my dad anymore, and him and my mom ask when I'm having kids and why I haven't seen them in years despite living probably 30 minutes from them. I wish more people realized they can cut toxic people they're related to out of their lives. You can't pick your family, but you can choose to leave. When I was young and taking interest in girls, my parents made a rule with no girls over at the house alone with me. Even to study, all doors open. No locks. This all happened after I got caught in a compromising situation with my girlfriend at church. Went on like that for a while until I was 14 to 15. A friend of mine who was on the weightlifting team was over at my house one day. He was changing in my room and my parents walked in with him in his boxers and me sitting on my bed. I still remember that moment. They both paused, look at each other, and it got weird for a couple days. When they finally said something, it was very positive towards me seeing women. Got a lock on my door and girls were very welcome in the house alone with me. Even got a few, "Why don't you ever bring that one girl around more often?" My parents really didn't want me to be gay. I don't think your parents know that boys change in front of each other and don't give a single ST about it. That's a real different spin on pretending to be gay to get girls. How ironic. They banned girls. But they don't want you to be gay. I hate to be that one to say it, but my mom had an abusive boyfriend. One morning leading up to Christmas, I woke up really early. Obviously it was pitch black dark. So I did what any child would do and go downstairs to watch TV. Since it was dark, I turned on this little overhead lamp thing and just sat and watched the TV for a while. At some point I must have fell asleep because I woke up to the sound of my mum's boyfriend shouting at me to wake up. When I woke up, he ripped into me for having the light on during the daytime because it was wasting electricity. His punishment for this was to grab my hand and force me to grab onto the light that I had left on. Obviously it was extremely hot. It was actually so hot I remember it made my hand sizzle like bacon in a hot pan. It was relatively brief, but it was long enough to leave me with a scar and unable to open my own Christmas presents that year. Any questions, feel free to ask. I swore at my mum for teasing me in front of her friends when I was 6. She wouldn't let up and I hated it. As a punishment, she grated a bar of soap on my teeth and made me sit facing a corner on the floor without a drink of water for 2 hours. Then sent me to bed without dinner. We don't talk. Bamboo feather duster to the BT. It's basically caning. Yes. But with a whimsical feathered aspect you don't see in a good caning. In the 1980s, my father was a radio man and often had spare parts lying around. Whenever I was rebellious toward him, he was fond of whipping my bare back with metal radio antenna. When I was around 6 years old, my stepdad woke me up in the night by pulling me out of the bed and yelling that I had got PS on the toilet seat. He took me out on the front porch, and while he was paddling me, the rail I was bracing against broke and I fell off the porch. I was in kindergarten and I had peed myself because I was having too much fun watching a movie in class. The teacher put me in the bathroom with the lights out and door closed for the rest of the movie. 45 minutes or so. And it was storming really badly outside. I'm still afraid of the dark and loud noises. Punishing a child for having an accident just makes it worse. My mom used to punish my sister and I whenever we wet the bed or had an accident. I got over it eventually, but my sister wet the bed for years after she was potty trained. Mom would make us wear a diaper or tell people we weren't potty trained. She was basically trying to shame us into not having accidents. 7 years old. I wouldn't move my hands from my BT, so my mom dragged me to the bathroom. While there she lifted me up by my legs and attempted to give me a swirly. My hands immediately latched onto the toilet bowl to stop my head from falling in. Then my mom freed up one of her hands to turn my ass red. After a few hits my arms gave out and my head dropped hard into the toilet water. After that she yelled at me for 5 more minutes and ordered me to take a shower. She still denies doing this or any of the other corporal punishment my sister and I were subjected to. My mom used to literally back me into a corner then start swinging. She'd stop after she got tired or thought I learned my lesson. The next day she'd buy me a shitty little crystal knickknack from the drugstore as an apology. It would happen about twice a year. I'd threaten to call the police. She'd say, "They won't believe you and arrest you for lying." Quote. This went on for years. One day, when I was 16, she thought I was being mouthy, so she walked up behind me and backhanded me in the back of my head. I had enough of it and pushed her away. She started screaming to my dad that I was attacking her. He came in and put his hands on me and I wrapped my hands around his throat until he tapped and was begging me to stop. I left home for almost a month. Couch surfing and probably putting myself in way too dangerous situations for a minor. I didn't go back home until my dad finally apologized to me when he got the truth of what happened from my mom. As soon as I got back home I gave away or tossed all the shitty crystal apology gifts from my mom. I confronted my mother about all this a couple years ago on Mother's Day. She denies any of it ever happening and claimed, "I think I'd remember if that happened." My dad can't verify any of it since she'd always do it while he was at work. But he got real quiet when I mentioned it. I'm pretty sure he knows it happened and feels guilty that he never knew. I'm 32 years old now. I'm on good terms with both of my parents. Well, in all truth, I'm on good terms with my dad and I can tolerate my mother. I've never forgiven her or ever forgotten what she did. She can claim whatever she wants, but I know what happened. I have the scars and fractures which never quite healed right. I have the occasional nightmares about it to this day. I can only hope that I rise above it all and don't make petty decisions when I'm in control and she's helpless. I'm so sorry for what happened to you and further sorry for dumping all this bullshit here. You know what happened despite what she claims. Don't ever feel bad about staying true to yourself and what happened. All you can do now is hope that the future brings the best for yourself due to your own strength and perseverance. Edit. Thanks for overwhelming support and kind thoughts in response to this post. My heart goes out to everyone who responded and shared their own stories. If nothing else, you all should know that you're not alone in this world and didn't deserve what happened when you were a child. You've made it this far and now are free to live your life as you see fit and enjoy every single moment. She still denies doing this or any of the other corporal punishment my sister and I were subjected to. Classic gaslighting. They always do that. I'm still to meet a mother that remember how she beat her kids. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.